Warning: the Chaotic Culture Podcast is a program for mature audiences. The language and content presented in this podcast is of a mature nature that some audiences may not find suitable. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
Yeah. Embrace the culture, blaze the doja, grab your loved ones and bring them closer. Extra, extra, read the poster, the KKP is taking over. Sleeping on me, better smell the Folgers. I've been razor sharp since the Motorola. Off for O, like the cover Oprah. Popping bottles, feet all in the sofa. It's a celebration, though the times is hard. It's raining blessings, give it up to God. Chaotic culture, the greatest pod. With Ked the Pro, the one in charge, but it's a celebration. Times is hard. It's raining blessings, give it up to God. Chaotic culture, the greatest pod. With Ked the Pro, the one in charge.
We're living in a chaotic culture. 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 Oh, we're living in a chaotic culture. 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 Oh, we're living in a chaotic culture. 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 Oh, we're living in a chaotic culture. We're living in a chaotic culture. We're living in a chaotic culture. We're living in a chaotic culture.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are again. This will be the final episode for Season 3. And I want to thank everybody who joined me for this incredible season that we had. Season 3, we definitely dropped the most episodes and definitely had the most guests. And Season 4 is looking up already. Now, again, I am going to be taking a break, but I at least wanted to do this one last episode before I officially break, before we begin Season 4. And, of course, take care of some back-end work as well, so that way we can continue to build the pod, expand it, and make and create a better experience, not only for us, but for you as well. So, if you started with the prologue and got all the way down to the epilogue, well, once again, I just want to thank you for your support. And I really can't thank you enough. Words cannot describe how I'm feeling right now. I feel really good, and I feel that this podcast is just only getting started. We got through 3 seasons. Season 1 was 18 episodes. Season 2 was like 21 or 22, and now we've gone on to have 32 episodes, not including the bonus episodes, not including the prologue, and not including this one. Anyway, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Chaotic Culture Podcast, the pod where chaos rules and black culture is elevated and embraced. This podcast will deep dive into modern black culture and how millennials and Gen Z can navigate the crazy parts, from finances, music, black business highlights, home ownership, HBCUs, sports, black nerddom, anime, wrestling. We cover all that and everything in between. Live from the 7-5, I'm the host and creator of the Chaotic Culture Podcast, your boy Ked the Pro, a.k.a. the Calculated Millennial, the Cutlass Diamond, a.k.a. don't be pushing on my buttons in my Cutlass unless you're cutting, a.k.a. Chaotic Ked. Now, the 843 is me, but VA is where I stay. Always chaotic, never toxic on most days. Back again, once again, with your favorite black culture highlights and black culture shenanigans. It's just me this time to go ahead and end out. I really wanted to kind of do an interview with the Worst Gen folks. Shout out to Worst Generation Pod. But time, unfortunately, got away from us, so I wasn't able to do that. But I will have the Worst Generation Podcast on this platform again. You've already heard Panda the Don. You've already heard One Piece Leak. And you've already heard Rome, a.k.a. Master D, on this pod. So it's only fair that I can try to get the rest of them on here as well. We definitely need to have Sensei Love on here. Definitely got to have the mastermind and the brainchild behind Worst Generation Pod, GB, on here. Definitely got to get Frankie, that boy Frankie, a.k.a. my boy Warren, on here. And Tatapoodle. You know, cannot forget Tatapoodle. Speaking of which, I'll get to that a little later throughout this episode. But what I really wanted to talk about is my DreamCon experience. So, while I got you guys here, I just want to say that DreamCon was legendary. A lot of great things happened. There was some that could be fixed, and then, of course, naturally, with COVID going around, there were some things that happened currently. A lot of the people that went there, you know, when you go to a large event, you always have to assume the risk. Me being me, I knew what the risks were because I literally just had COVID. I literally just came from an event where I caught COVID. But this time I was not going to be caught lacking. I wore my mask and I wore a KN95 to be absolutely sure. Now, granted, I know that even with this new strain, a KN95 is not always going to be the most well, by itself, it's not going to be the most protective. Obviously, you still have to keep your distance. Some people double mask. I don't know if I was able to do that. And with that in mind, you know, when you're congregating with a lot of people, it's bound to happen. There are going to be some people who probably didn't know they had COVID that still went anyway, and there are some people who knew full well they had COVID and still went. You always just have to assume those risks when you go to large events and large gatherings, and that it's going to be a super spreader event. In this case, a lot of people that I have talked with and that I follow have caught COVID, but majority of them also didn't wear their mask either, so there's that. No shame against y'all. Y'all know I love y'all, but I mean, out of the crew that I was with, man, maybe 2 or 3 of us actually wore our mask for real. But either way, I did test negative when I came back. I am going to do another test. I'm probably going to do one on either Thursday or Friday just to be absolutely sure because, again, I came back negative. And I cannot take a PCR because, for those who know, again, I already caught COVID, so it's going to be positive probably for another week or so. But still, I want to be sure that I'm doing the best that I can and still be safe. So I am going to, continue to wear a mask everywhere that I go. That's not changing even as we get further along in this endemic. The mask usage will probably continue for a while. I don't know when I'll stop using it. Who knows? But I guess we'll see what happens. But either way, still, DreamCon was like that. Now, from my DreamCon experience, I wanted to at least let the audience know this is my first con, or at least my first anime convention. I've been to plenty of conventions, whether it be, whether they've been church conventions and things like that. I've been to plenty of those, but I've never got a chance to actually go to an anime convention. So this was my first one. And granted, yeah, dang, KJ, you 31, bro, and you've never been to a anime convention? Well, yes. So there's that. But if you have heard this podcast, my love for anime, my love for gaming. I had to go. I had to. So this was my first experience, and because DreamCon, I knew was going to be majority black because the people hosting the con, for those who are familiar with RDC World, I would definitely check them out on YouTube. So I knew what I was was going to be expecting. So I actually flew into Dallas on Monday morning, July 11th. Now, most people didn't get there either until Wednesday or Thursday, and some people didn't come until Friday. But still, I wanted to enjoy Dallas because the last time I was in Texas, I kind of went through Dallas in passing. I didn't really get a chance to go to any of the downtown areas or anything like that. I went to Fort Worth, I went to Royce City, and then I went back to Houston. So I was in the area, but I really was not in Dallas. So this was my first time in the actual city of Dallas. Monday, kind of got my bearings, chilled out, got a chance to hang with my cousin. And shout out to Stephen Michael, man. Stephen Michael lives in Dallas, and he also went to the con as well. And, man, just seeing him after a couple of years, because it's been a while since he's seen each other, was just absolutely fire, man. And I'm just glad I got a chance to go with my cuz. I didn't get a chance to see my other cousins or my aunt that lives in Fort Worth, but still, I'm glad that I was at least able to see him and, have a good time. So we kicked it until I could get into my hotel room, and then we went out to this ramen spot. So we had a nice little talk. We talked about music. We talked about the podcast and what our future plans were. So it was nice getting a chance to catch up with him. Tuesday, I kind of went a little bit of exploring. I kind of explored on my own. Got a chance to go to Galleria in Dallas, which is very similar to the Galleria in Houston. Slight differences here. They're not too many expensive stores like the ones in Houston, because boy, the one in Houston, yeesh, there's a lot of expensive stores in that hoe. But still, I got a chance to do some exploring, and mind you, I didn't do too much exploring because Dallas is hot, and look, we all know that right now, if you paying attention to the climate, that certain areas are experiencing like the highest temperatures ever, man. But Dallas was just like, I can't explain it. It's that Texas heat, man. Dallas was over 100 almost every day that I was out there, with the exception of one day, but I'll get into that. So after doing a little bit of exploring, getting a little lost and things like that, I went back to the hotel and pretty much chilled for the remainder of the day. I did an episode with Analytical, where shit gets critical. Shout out to the gang. Shout out to the boy Johnny, aka J Lee Trey. Shout out to LaKenzu. Shout out to Brandon, aka Pretty Man. Shout out to Vonnie, Preston, my boy O. God, there's too many of y'all. Shout out to Ashley, of course, the founder. And yeah, man, it was such an experience. Oh, shout out to Wave God too. But yeah, we had an episode, so if you haven't checked it out, it's actually their episode, so please be sure that you go to the Analytical podcast and pay attention to that DreamCon episode. Now, they've just dropped a DreamCon recap, but if you wanted to hear my voice on their platform, just be sure that you go and check out the podcast. You can check it out on all streaming platforms. Apparently, they're also on Pandora now, which I'm trying to get on, and I guess they've also reached Tidal now too, so I need to step my game up because I need to be on these platforms too. I'm trying to get on SoundCloud, I'm trying to get on YouTube, I'm trying to get on Pandora and Tidal and iHeartRadio. So with your support, of course, I can get there, but please subscribe to that Patreon account, guys. Please, I'm begging you, please subscribe to the Patreon account. Anyway, that episode was really, really fun, and I stayed for the entire time. And then Wednesday, I got a chance to hang out with a former classmate of mine from HU. And shout out to Maya Butler, man. Maya. Oh, every time I talk to Maya, we always have a good conversation. When we're texting or, talking about ideas, it's always fruitful. And Maya is just, oh my God, Maya is so beautiful. Maya is just not beautiful on the outside, but inside as well. Like, Maya is really such a genuine soul, and I really, really appreciate her. And I've always appreciated her ever since I met her in the freshman year, beginning of sophomore year, when we were at HU. But she knows how much I care for her. So definitely shout out to Miss Maya Butler. Pay attention to her brand, because if you haven't, I know that I haven't been talking about it a lot, but she does have a brand called the name for it that most people go by is A Higher Standard. So if you've seen like all the hoodies and things like that, or the crew necks that she's done for HBCUs, definitely check it out. I believe it's still under A Higher Standard _ on Instagram, so definitely check it out. She's got some new stuff coming. I cannot talk about it. I will not talk about it, but be on the lookout, because she's got some fire clothing, bro. I'm talking like, look, when I saw it, I was amazed. I'm like, yo, I'm ready for it. So definitely pay attention to when that comes back, and I promise you're gonna love it. Anyway, got a chance to have lunch with her. Went back to the hotel. Well, before I went back to the hotel, obviously I drove through downtown Dallas, which, I mean, it ain't Houston. Dallas is okay. Dallas is okay. But I mean, what I've learned is that, like, I don't like the Texas road system, but it seems that, like, because, Houston is big, and a lot of people say Houston's spread out, but the city of Houston itself is just that large. So, granted, I don't mind driving in Houston, and I've never had a problem with any other city that I've been to, but Dallas, it's just like, if you miss one wrong turn, that could set your whole trip back 15 minutes. It's just that spread out. So, either way, I went back to the hotel. My cousin called me. He was trying to get food. I went to have food with him. Got a chance to hang out. Thursday came, and I left the hotel, and I went to the Worst Generation Airbnb. So, naturally, in the Airbnb, it is GB was the first person there, and then it was me. And then everybody else filed in. Rome came. My boy Sensei, of course, came a little later with his boy Mark. and then Poodle came on Friday night. But before then, we all went to go get breakfast at Waffle House, and we met up with the gang. Shout out to Scuba Steve from Inside the Mind of the Blurred, and shout out to Rob J, man. Yo, we finally got a chance to meet the homie, man. Rob J is cool. Rob J is also tall as fuck. So I knew they were taller than me. I know a lot of people were taller than me, but man, it's just like I had to crane my neck to look at him. Just like sheesh. But anyway, shout out to him. Shout out to the boy LSF. If you haven't checked out Shade of Red, please be sure that you do that. The man is a content creator. He is actually from England, surprisingly, or I'm gonna say the UK because he could be from Wales and I just don't know it. But yeah, he's from the UK. He came over, man. This is his first trip to America, so definitely shout out to LSF, man. I appreciate you, gang. I appreciate it. Finally getting a chance to meet you, man. I'm really excited, and of course, we did our part to be sure that we covered his face because that he also, wore his mask most of the time. Anyway, of course, Rome had come with us as well, so we just had a nice wholesome breakfast at at Waffle House, and it was really fun. I will say that I didn't eat all my food like I usually do because I think I ordered too much. It was still cheap, don't get me wrong, because Waffle House is cheap, but I think I ordered too much, or it might be that the Texas portions are just that much bigger. But either way, we did that. We went to the pre-registration because we did not want to wait in a long line on Friday when the con actually opened up. So we got pre-registered. We went and got our badges, our COVID wristbands to show that, of course, we had either been vaccinated or at least tested negative for the virus before we got there. And then we it got interesting from that part. And I say that because as soon as we got back to the Airbnb and everybody was pretty much established, oh man, the amount of liquor that was consumed on Thursday was absolutely ridiculous. I haven't had like almost a night like that since college. It's been a while since I've drank like that. We had a couple of shots, then we had I had two mixed drinks. I stayed, with dark liquor for the majority of the night. Then we went to JD Legend's Airbnb. So shout out to JD and other ones. For those who don't know JD Legend, of course, he does One Piece videos and he does One Piece reactions. So definitely shout out to him. He is a content creator. He's very big on YouTube. Please be sure that you go and check him out as well. We went to his Airbnb and where his whole crew was staying at, and I took two more shots. And then the rest of the crew had more shots on top of that. And so now we were stuck with a conundrum because a part of the gang that we work with, I believe Analytical, they were there, and they were actually going bowling. We hit up this karaoke joint for a Key. So shout out to Princess Key. And yeah, don't ask how I got there. I remember how we got there, but it was just one of those things where I was like, yo, I'm drunk. But we had a ball, man. Got a chance to go up and do karaoke. Somehow I ended up singing Anniversary by Tony. I don't know how or, what compelled me to do that, but I did that. But we did a lot of songs. Ari went up and sang Tyrone by Erykah Badu, and of course I kind of helped with the background vocals. I don't know if anybody has that video, but I was definitely providing her background vocals. So shout out to the Sundari, man. Really beautiful chick inside and out. Definitely appreciate her. I ended up eating a whole plate of chicken fried rice just because I was extremely hungry. Considering that the only food that I had that day was Waffle House. So I'm like, yeah, I need to do something right now. So I had to put something on my stomach, and that kind of helped get me back to not completely sober, but sober enough. And then, yeah, we sang a whole bunch of songs. We got a chance to meet, we met Simone, obviously, at the registration, but we got a chance to meet so many others. At that point, I had met Senpai Shay. I met Who else did I meet at this joint? There's a lot of people I'm trying to remember, man. And it's like, Fi. I definitely met Fi, who is also a cosplayer. Shout out to Fi, man. Yo, she's also a beautiful person as well. Man, the game was over there. I met Eden. So for those who don't know Eden, she has her own convention in Las Vegas called EdenCon. Definitely check it out. I'm gonna check it out next year. But shout out to Eden. She was there too. It was just an amazing night overall. Got back to the Airbnb. Obviously, we didn't stay the entire time. We literally got back at about maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock or so. But we were still, or I was still drunk. I can't speak to everybody, but at least I was starting to get back to some kind of normalcy. So I was just drinking water, I gotta get back sober. Oddly enough, I didn't have a hangover the next day just because, again, I was doing my part to be sure that I just didn't go overboard. But yeah, Friday was nice too. So Friday happens, and Friday is just, I guess for me, it's a mind-blowing experience. We missed the opening with RDC World, but when we saw the line that was coming out of the main stage, we realized that we probably would not have been able to get in just because of so many people. So instead, we checked out the exhibit hall, got a chance to talk to Studio Maho, take a look around some of the exhibits. Shout out to my boy Calvin, aka Kunatix of Icarus Metro Comics. Man, that's my hey, look, shout out to HU once again. I support all things HU, and he had actually told me that there was another person from HU there as well. So I didn't know who it was at first, but we'll get there. So after we hang around the exhibit hall for a while, we went to a panel in the Sheraton Hotel, which was right next door to the esports arena in Arlington. And we sat through a panel called Are You the Main Character? And then I believe we sat through another panel, but I could not remember which one. Either way, we were it was I remember the panel because it was in the Champions Ballroom, and there was this dude who had a panel last year that was really funny, so he decided to bring back a panel this year, and this one was sort of how it was more like a debate. So he could say a wild take, and you get the opportunity to kind of debate him to prove his point wrong. So I have to look at it again because the name escapes me. But either way, we went to that, had a ball, left, got food, and it was at that point that I saw a familiar face, and I couldn't put two and two together. I'm like, I think that's her, but I don't know. I don't want to just walk up to her and be like, hey, are you such and such and such, because I didn't know who it was. As it turns out, it was that person, and the person I'm from HU that I'm referring to, her name is, she goes by Khaotic on 3 Weaves in a Podcast. So shout out to 3 Weaves in a Podcast. But for those who don't know, of course, her real name is Crystal Namax, and I marched with her and her brother. So seeing Crystal again was so heartwarming and so beautiful because I hadn't seen Crystal in a while, and we got a chance to talk. Not Friday, obviously. We talked on Saturday. So definitely shout out to y'all. Y'all really made seeing her again just really made that experience wonderful. So after we finally left the con, we left at around 7 or 8ish. We got ready to go to a kickback that was held at my boy Armand's crib in Cedar Hill. Friday night was great. I won't share any spoilers of what happened at the beginning of the night because I'll save that for Anime After Dark. So please be sure that you tune into Anime After Dark Clubhouse or Anime After Dark CH on Twitter Spaces. Not on Clubhouse, on Twitter Spaces. They'll have a DreamCon recap episode as well. But definitely shout out to the gang, yo. That was a night to remember. Thursday was great. Sensei and I, we were partners on Spades. We ran everybody off the table. So I can say that when I went to DreamCon and I played Spades, ain't nobody beat my ass. No, I got everybody the hell up out of there. I can't say the same for everybody else, but I can speak for me. I didn't lose. So also got a chance to meet some incredible people. Shout out to All Brit, the indie. She came in, and of course she did the stroll. Shout out to Godly, it was everybody in there. Shout out to Unbothered Mike and Sine of Blaname Podcast, man. Getting a chance to actually meet them. Mike is a funny dude, man. Mike is really funny dude. And I know that the worst gen like to crack on him a lot. Well, they crack on each other, honestly, but still, Mike is that dude, man. And Sine is such a beautiful person, inside and out, so genuine. And we literally had like a conversation regarding, how you had to stay alert in Texas. And I didn't realize that Sine was a real ass nigga. Like, I was dumbfounded. I was like, oh, wait a minute, because when we started playing spades, she was like, I trust y'all, so I left my piece in the car. I was like, excuse me? What? How did we get on this topic? But after actually talking to her, and when you realize just how much of a wild west that Texas is, you kind of understand, like, well, yeah, you gotta, especially if you're a black woman, you gotta be sure that you're carrying, because these fools out here crazy. So definitely shout out to Sine. And I believe they also played beer pong as well on the first floor. They played beer pong. There was pool going on upstairs. It was just a lot of fun. And, of course, we saw more of our mutuals as well. I can't name them all, but most of the mutuals that I literally just named for different times, we literally were there at that particular kickback. So the kickback ends, it's about 4 o'clock in the morning, which with me being on, operating off of Eastern Daylight Time, my body was telling me it's 5. So, of course, we go back and we get back to the Airbnb. Now, I talked to Tatted Poodle, who has gotten to the Airbnb, and we both wanted to see the panel with voice actors, but their panel was so early in the morning. It was at 10 a.m. So I was like, all right, well, you know what? I'm going to set my alarm. And if I can get up at 9:15, then we should be good to go. So I got up at 9:15 thinking that Poodle was up. I got dressed. I brushed my teeth. I did all of that. I go downstairs. She's still asleep. I'm like, I guess we're not making it. She did eventually wake up at around 9:40, but she was just like, I don't think we're going to make it, man. Why didn't you wake me up? I was like, I thought you were up already. So when I went downstairs and it's 9:40, I realized, oh, you're not up. Yikes. So for future reference, next time, if we both want to go to a certain panel, what I'll do is I will, as soon as I wake up, I'm going to come wake you up, Tatted Poodle. So that way we can both be on time and we can both do what we said we was going to do. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, we since we missed that panel, we obviously was just like, well, we'll get there around 2. So everybody else in Worst Gen decided to cosplay, and they cosplayed the Phantom Troop from Hunter x Hunter, and boy, when I tell you these costumes was fire. And shout out to Sensei LeGlove, man. The man played Finks from Phantom Troop, but the way that his wig was set up, we actually had to go and get some, I forgot what that stuff was called, but Tierra had to Poodle actually had to pat his wig down so that way it could be slicked back. But still, when he got there, people thought this man was All Might. And I know, I'm like, dang, bro, you got the blonde wig and everything. People thinking that you a character from My Hero Academia when you from Hunter x Hunter, and it's completely different manga. But that was just hilarious all day. My boy GB came out as Crollo, who was the leader of Phantom Troop, and the man had the cosplay together, man. Shout out to him. Poodle also did, she did Shizuku from Phantom Troop as well. Her costume was pretty much like what we call a base cosplay. Where you pretty much like dress up in similar clothes. It's a basic, it's nothing elaborate or anything like that. But she had the glasses, and then of course she had the tat that can be seen. So definitely shout out to her cosplay because it worked. And of course shout out to my boy Rome and League. I forgot the name of that character. I'll come back to it probably later. But yeah, the Worst Gen crew definitely came out as as Phantom Troop, and that was dope. Panda actually came out as the Poodle from Oliver and Company. So I believe, what is that Poodle's name? I want to say it's Duchess. I think it's Duchess. I'm pretty sure it is. Hold on, let me make sure that I'm on top of my game because again, it's been a minute since I've seen Oliver and Company, but I wanna make sure that that is the name of the poodle that was there because she literally had like the blue wig and blue dress, like and Panda. Hey, don't let Panda fool you. She is like fine as hell. Do not let her fool you and think that oh she's a but she says that she's a catfish. She is not. She is not. Dang, what is that? No, I'm thinking Duchess is the name of the cat from the Aristocrats. No, the poodle is Georgette. Wow. Okay. That's crazy. But yeah, shout out to her. Definitely got a chance to take a few pics with a lot of cosplayers. It was incredible. We went to the cosplay competition, but this was one of the problems of DreamCon. That cosplay competition, the cosplays were great. The organization of the cosplay competition was ass. Like, I can't stress that enough. It was ass. The host and or the MCs, they were absolutely the hell. I'm trying not to say the F word, but they were just absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. There was no organization. The list of sponsors that they had was just, they wrote them down to try and I guess say them out throughout the competition. They, of course, were stalling for time on a couple of cosplays. You should have a script. You should have a script written out and already good to go. I know that, you know, people are doing a lot of things and whatnot, but there are some people who can go off the dome when they're hosting an event, and there are others who cannot. These people cannot. You needed to have a script there so that way you can remember your bullet points, remember what you need to talk about, and move on. Make the program go. Make the program fit. We didn't stay for the entire thing. It was just that bad. After the advanced portion, we just left. Now, shout out to the people the person who actually won. She actually made her, I forgot what her cosplay was, but it was dope as hell. She made it from scratch. And I believe the person who came as the Gold Ninja Steel Power Ranger, he got second, so shout out to him. But still, it was just absolutely, like, the organization of it was just absolutely terrible. So we ended up going to Anime Music Jeopardy, and when I tell you I had fun trying to guess which songs were, you know, came from which series. It was amazing. It was amazing. There was only one song that like really stumped me, but either way, I still had fun. Maybe I'll get a chance to actually participate next year. Who knows? That would be nice if they do it again. So then we pretty much just decided we had to get ready for Anime After Dark, which, for those who've been paying attention, you know that Worst Gen and Blanime Podcast, they were able to get a panel, and the Anime After Dark panel included a bar outside of the panel, and once the panel started at 8:30, of course, they made it interactive just like they do on Twitter Spaces. So definitely shout out to them. It was by far the best panel at DreamCon, bar none. Y'all can say what y'all want. I don't care if you thought that another panel was great. It don't matter. No, Anime After Dark was the best. It got a little rowdy, but it was the best. And part of the reason why I got rowdy is because you're dealing with people who've been drinking. I will share this incident with you guys. The bartender actually spilled a drink on me, and yeah, needless to say, I was not happy. But because of that, I ended up getting 2 more drinks for free. So there's that. Yeah. Somehow, I don't consider myself a Worst Generation, podcast member. I'm not a member. But because I am a Patreon subscriber to them, I always support them 100% in everything they do, as well as Blanime. I'm a Patreon subscriber to them too, so I always want to be sure that I'm supporting them. I ended up being one of the cameramen. And needless to say, while I didn't get a chance to speak at the panel, just being able to record the footage was an experience I'll never forget. And I want to thank them for even allowing me to, be a part of that, because I had no idea what was coming, but they still were like, hey, matter of fact, it was Tiara, GB's wife, who was recording, and then she would pass the camera along to the other T. T is the well, we'll say the significant other of Leek, and they were going back and forth, but you could tell that they were kind of getting tired. So I was like, hey, look, if you need help, I work with a 50-pound camera when I'm in the band, so I'll go ahead and I'll just, I'll take it. They were like, okay, cool. So I grabbed it, and I mean, it wasn't a heavy camera. It was just an iPhone on a gimbal, well, on a GoPro almost, but still, just the man, the experience was so crazy. There were some moments that got really, really, really crazy. Some top threes I'm like questioning, and then there were other top threes that were really fun to hear. And then there was some slander on certain characters that I thought a riot was gonna happen. I will say this, I haven't watched Naruto in a while, but I am, I keep up with the series because I read Boruto. So somebody decided that they were gonna test the waters, and they slandered Rock Lee from Naruto. And look, Rock Lee ain't one of my favorite characters, but I will never in my entire existence ever slander that man, because he came from the bottom. He started from the bottom like Naruto. And even more so because that man can't use ninjutsu. So, yeah, a riot was about to start. My boy, Kendall Anime, he grabbed a chair and was ready to fight. Poodle actually came down from the panel, and she was ready to scrap. She was like, who tweeted this? Like, we got to talk. We got to talk. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. So, after Anime After Dark, there was the part 2 at the same crib that they did the first kickback. Now, I got there on my own because, of course, I drove. I wanted to get some food because I was hungry. So, of course, I got food. I went down there, had a ball, but I had to leave out of there at a certain time just because I felt as though the vibe was a little different. It was still fun, but the vibe was a little different. There were people who, of course, we weren't mutuals with that were coming through, and we were just like, yo, who are these people? Who are these people? And it's not to say that it made it uncomfortable, but I was just like, I mean, I don't know, it just didn't feel the same, if that makes any sense. So we were just like, all right, well, I headed out of there at about around 3:30-ish or so. Apparently, Soul King had pulled up. Also, King Vader had pulled up like at around 5-ish or so. For those who don't know who King Vader is, definitely check him out on YouTube as well. But definitely check out King Vader. He pulled up. A couple of other people pulled up as well. But yeah, I was like, well, I kind of left out of there early because I just was tired at that point. Which I guess it really wasn't early because it was like 3:30, 3:40. So I don't really think that constitutes as early, but they kept going until like almost 6. And the rest of the squad didn't get back until about 6:30. So there's that. Yeah, it was quite the experience, man. Sunday, I got up again, went to the brunch held by the group known as PBNK, or Panda, Bam, and Kells. So, of course, I show up to the brunch, and it was at this place called Lazy Dog. And the food was very, very mid. Now, some people had some dishes that were, straight, but my dish that I ordered was, let's just say I'm not ordering that again if I ever end up back there. But still, I got a chance to have brunch. Got a chance to see the gang. Shout out to Studio Maho and Kells, especially Allende. Definitely shout out to my mans out there. Shout out to Analytical that came a little late, as well as Bam, who came extremely late. They literally pulled up like 2 hours after we were already there. But I mean, I guess it is what it is. Also shout out to the boy Evan, the noob, aka HBCU Anime. We definitely had plenty of interactions there. Definitely shout out to my boy. He was doing his thing too. I need to message him as well and send him a couple of the pics that we took, because we damn sure took a couple of flicks. But the brunch, even though the food was kind of meh, the fellowship there was still great. A lot of the people that I got a chance to talk with are really, really wholesome people. Shout out to T, aka Big Boji. She was there too. She gang, like we was having conversations. Like we had and an excellent conversation about college. Definitely, once again, shout out to Phi and Senpai Shay. They are really I won't say wholesome, because who knows what's done in the dark. I'm not joke, I'm not trying to joke on it. I'm just saying, when you meet people in real life and you realize just how cool they are, you just got to be like, yo, that it is absolute love. It is absolute love. So shout out to them. Shout out to everybody that came to that brunch, man, especially Rob J. Oh, and shout out to Bo, man. I've had plenty of conversations with Bo. Bo has actually helped me out on Destiny 2 quite a bit. So when I hop back on Destiny 2, I'm definitely going to be needing his assistance, obviously, because I hadn't played this game in almost a month, so I know I'm missing out on a few things. But definitely shout out to the homie Bo. Yeah. It's just, after I left the brunch, came back to the worst B&B, we got our stuff together. I tried to get started on laundry, but we went back to the con to do one more panel that we all wanted to be a part of. And that was Daphne's panel. Now, for those who don't know Daphne is a copyright lawyer, or a content lawyer, if I'm going to be more specific, and a family lawyer at the, I believe the name of the actual law firm, well, her actual Instagram is called, Build Your Legacy, but the name of the actual firm is the Benford Smith Law Firm. So definitely shout out to Daphne, or Big Esquire Bay on Twitter. Like, she, not only is she beautiful, but she's also very, very intelligent. And when it comes to law and trademark laws, best believe that I will be hitting her up in regards to getting this trademark for our pod. I should have done it a long time ago, but now that I know I have that connect, I'm definitely going to be using her resources, because she truly deserves it. Like, I'm so glad I went to that panel, because I learned a lot, even though I kind of escaped for the last 15 minutes, because I was trying to I was trying to get up with an old friend of mine by the name of Kiana. For those who don't know who Kiana is, that is the Geechee Gamer. You hear me, tell you to support her all the time, but I couldn't get to her. It was just like, dang, man, Kiana done got too famous for me, man. Nah, but for real, I didn't get a chance to speak to her, because I thought she was going to the exhibit hall, but she ended up going to the closing instead. And of course, everybody and their mama was trying to get seats in the closing, and I was like, I'll be all right. The boys RDC World, they the gang and whatnot, but I'm not pressed to be in the same room. I'm not pressed to see or try to run and see celebrities and whatnot like that. At least not anymore. The only celebrity that I really wanted to speak to, and I got a chance to speak to, was Tino Robinson. And he really encouraged me to take the voice acting seriously. So I'm definitely going to be pushing towards that. I got inspired just from talking to him, and he is so humble. He is so cool. He pulled up to the Anime After Dark panel. He was around with a lot of our mutuals, man. I really appreciate Zeno. I saw him multiple times. I dapped him multiple times, man. That is one cool dude. So definitely shout out to him. Yeah, but after, of course, the closing and whatnot, we all left. We all, for those who are worse in Blaname Mutuals and, Studio Maha, we all went. We got food. And then after that, it was pretty much time to wrap it up. So I went and I finished my laundry. I went to check out my boys Analytical at the Airbnb that they were at, and yeah, after that it was pretty much the end. So Poodle and I were flying out around the same time, so of course I didn't get to the airport until about 1:45ish, which I'm never flying out of Dallas Fort Worth ever again. I'm going to be using Love Field from now on whenever I fly into Dallas, because DFW is so spread out, and it is just the entire airport is trash. I'm gonna just leave it at that. The entire airport is trash. The rental car center is so far away from the actual airport itself, which is not like Houston. Houston, at least if you're flying out of Bush in Houston, the rental car center ain't but that far from the airport. But with DFW, just because it is so spread out, man, it's trash. And then of course, if you're not like flying out and whatnot, and you're dropping somebody off in the departures, you gotta pay to get in. I mean, I know it's like only maybe like a few cents or maybe like a couple of dollars, but still, just the simple fact that you have to pay to get into the airport, that's crazy. Thankfully, I had a rental, so I didn't have to, but still, it it was not worth it, man. It's not worth flying in the DFW. I'm definitely not doing that again. So that's just my take on that. But yeah, we Poodle, myself, and the Blackmans all had brunch at this place called Hemingway Brunch, which was probably the best brunch that we had. No shade to the Lazy Dog, but yeah, Lazy Dog was definitely mid as fuck. So and there I go, I used the F-bomb. But either way, we definitely had a nice brunch, and then Poodle and I got to the airport after trying to get there on time and then having to go through the security checkpoint, which ended up being the one security checkpoint we tried to go through was going to be a 25-minute wait. So they sent us, we had to walk all the way to the another end of the terminal to get to another security checkpoint, which was more like a 10-minute wait. But still, just the simple fact that we had to go through that, it just made that entire experience at DFW just absolutely trash. So, shout out to the gang, man. And once again, I'm going to say shout out to Tatapoodle. She is really like got a special place in my heart now. Especially because I'm indie and we're both tall beta sigma, so definitely shout out to her. I learned a lot about her, and just her overall vibe is just very infectious, so definitely shout out to Tatapoodle. But either way, I flew back after a little bit of a delay in Atlanta. I was able to get back to Norfolk around it was a little bit after 10 on Monday. So yeah. Now, again, I named all the pros and all the great things that happened about the con. So we got to name some of the negatives here. I'm gonna try and be quick. So obviously, the one of the negatives is that, granted, this is I guess a good problem to have. The con has grown so much to the point that I believe it has outgrown the esports arena. There is no possible way that DreamCon can have it back at esports again next year. There's just absolutely no way. They have to find a larger convention center to do that, because it's clear that this con has grown from small and intimate to much larger. And I guess that was their main goal, but still, a bigger venue needs to be had. And I hope that they will get the opportunity to, hear those words and get the opportunity to move. Of course, they heard the pros and cons of last year. So, of course, they added some more food trucks. You can never add too many food trucks. So that's not necessarily a problem. You just can never have too many, because I think we all lined up for Golden Chicken and whatnot. There was also concession stands that were open at the esports arena, which that food there was kind of, it was okay. Nothing special, but I mean, it got the job done to fill me up. So there's that. But you can never have enough food trucks. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Just if you have a few more food trucks for the people, that would be great. So I know that when it comes to conventions, there's always going to be people who walk around that are not pleasant to smell. Now, mind you, I had my mask on 99% of the time, so a lot of these smells that some of the people were dealing with, my senses were probably dulled because the mask kind of helped. But still, there were some people there that were kind of funky, not in our mutual group, but just, people in passing. You can just tell us like, okay, either you just really sweat profusely, either from anxiety or just from, whatever you got going on with your body, or you just didn't wash, and I need for y'all to change that. But still, it wasn't as bad for me because, again, I was masked up. The only time that I thought, it smelled kind of ripe was going into that gaming room. Now, unfortunately, I really hate that stigma has fallen on a lot of gamers, but I really just really hope that next year they come correct. And y'all, please bring, like, whether it's natural deodorant or regular deodorant, or a towel or a rag, something. Just please, when you go to these cons, please be sure that you don't come in here smelling like a whole pack of outside. Like, don't be coming here smelling like you one of these farm animals, man. We do not need to be smelling two types of funk in a closed space. I'm just gonna leave it at that. We do not need that. Please, please, please be sure that you come correct. I had my towel on me. I had my deodorant ready. I didn't cosplay, so of course, I wasn't gonna be sweating like that. And also on top of that, I was in pretty much in summer wear. Unfortunately, I've fallen into the hoochie daddy agenda. I bought 2 hoochie daddy shorts, guys. They're not like completely hoochie daddy. They're like literally like right above the knee. They're not like all the way up my thigh. But some people were telling me, "Oh, that's still the hoochie daddy agenda. I'm still them hoochie daddy shorts." So I guess. But yeah, I pretty much was in shorts all weekend. So yeah, but still, besides the point, just be sure that you come to these cons, smelling like you bathed at least in the last 24 hours. I'm just going to leave it at that. Other than the disorganization of the cosplay contest, which I hope they get together, man, and I hope that next they don't have this problem next time, and people are actually encouraged to be a part of that. And I hope that they give away more money, but that's not really necessarily a problem. So there's that. The main big problem is that we saw that the con they had a COVID-19 policy, but it wasn't as strong as it could have been. And I say that because there could have been, if they just had a mask mandate for the con, like certain other cons do, a lot of things could have been avoided. And then I wouldn't see so many people pop up on Twitter saying that they're not positive for COVID-19. So for those who are positive for COVID, please be sure that you get better. Please rest up. Please drink plenty of fluids, vitamin C. Please take your vitamins. Please load up on a lot of zinc. This thing is nothing to play with. If you got a mild case like I did, still do all of that. But if you have a much stronger case, please be sure that you just get plenty of rest and stay away from people as much as possible. Do 5 days, and if you feel better in 5 days, great. If you don't feel better in 5, do another 3, and then if that, if after day 7 or 8 if you're still not feeling better, then wait until 10. But still, man, if they had just applied an actual mask mandate, I think that things would have turned out better. Now I'm not gonna blame it on any one thing, because again, you do take that risk when you go to large gatherings, but still, it would have helped if they just had the mask mandate. So that is definitely some criticism that I want to lay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can think of off the top of my head, but I think those were really just the main points, is that it needed to be bigger space, and there needed to be more of a stronger COVID-19 guideline. With that, the one thing that I won't say uncomfortable with, but the one thing that really irked me about this particular con is that a lot of the people there were like looking for some kind of clout. And I say that because a lot of them were trying to follow these celebrities or these social media influencers or these content creators. And it's like they're trying to, I guess, I don't know, be a part of that, or want to follow them wherever they go, get an autograph, get a picture. It's like they were clamoring for it, man. And you got to remember, guys, these are people too. Yes, they may have a few more followers than we do. They may get more social media content out there than the average person. And some of them, might be getting paid for it. I mean, that's cool and whatnot. They might be getting money, or they might have their own little thing going on. That's fine. But just the amount of people who were trying to be where these celebrities are, or the amount of people who were trying to be where these content creators were, it just really, really rubbed me the wrong way. But that being said, I didn't see a lot of it, but I saw enough of it So yeah, I understand that there are gonna be people that you're gonna want to follow around or that you're gonna want to interact with, but just don't like I guess be so I don't want to say angsty about it. Just don't clamor for it. Don't be one of those people who like, oh, I need to see this, or I need no. Go outside and touch some grass, bro. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay if you don't get the opportunity to interact with them. I promise you. If you don't get a chance to interact with them at this con, there's another con that they're gonna be at. And if you love their work, great. I know that they appreciate the fandom, man, but some of y'all are fiends for them. Like, don't do that. Don't fiend for these celebrities, man. I know that's really kind of strange to say because I know back in the day, shit, I'd do the same thing when I was younger. Now that I'm at, I guess, an older age, it's kind of like, okay, you got to recognize that these are people too. So, if you get a chance to see them, cool, great. Just don't like beg for that shit. Don't fiend for it. Don't make it toxic. Because look, when I went and saw Earth Gang back in the beginning of June, I waited patiently. I hit him up and said, "Yo, what's good?" We had a nice little conversation, took a pic, and I was out. I wasn't like screaming or head over heels for any of the celebs that I might have got a chance to see or talk to. It wasn't worth it. But still, I just say all of that to say, yo, that just remember that there are people too, and they need their space too. If you can remember that, then I promise you, the times that you do get to interact with them, it'll be more genuine instead of you, I guess, looking for, I don't want to say looking for a come up, but yeah, you get my point. But other than that, guys, DreamCon was an experience, an absolute experience. I will do it again. I will come next year. Like, I'm really ready to be there next year already. I hated that I had to come back home, but still, I enjoyed my experience 100%, 1,000%, 10 billion%. I will do it again. Now, some of the homies are asking if I'm going to be attending AWA, which is Anime Weekend Atlanta. I'm thinking about it. It is the weekend after homecoming in October for us. So as long as I'm not volunteering for, out of the city or anything else, as long as I'm not around the kids at band, I think I should be able to do it. And if so, if it's like a minor performance or anything like that, then cool. If it's a major performance, I probably won't be able to. But I'm gonna look at my calendar and I'm gonna see, and then I'm gonna try and save up for that. If that's the case, then I know I won't have to worry about lodging or anything because I can stay with the Analytical fam, or I can stay with my god brother that's down there, or if I can find my cousins, I can stay with them. I have no shortage of places that I can stay if I decide to go to AWA. Now, there is another con that's happening in DC, and that's Otakon. Initially, Law and I were going to go, but looking at my wallet right now, that is not going to happen. So, I mean, it is what it is. Hope maybe next year, when I have a little more funds in my pocket, you know what I'm saying. But, yeah, I wish I could have. I wish I really would have budgeted a little bit better. But DreamCon really made me broke, and I was literally on a budget that entire time I was out there. So I didn't get a chance to buy a lot of the stuff that I wanted to buy because, again, budget. But still, it was worth it. The experience was really, really, really worth it. And I will be doing it again. So when those tickets drops, I am going to try and I don't know if I'll do VIP. I don't know if it's really all that worth it, but I definitely want to, I'm definitely going to get the general admin ticket again. And then, if Lord willing, fingers crossed, I am going to try to apply for a press pass and maybe even be a part of a panel. I would love to be a part of the panel with Anime After Dark again. This time as an official panelist. I would love to be a part of that. But, I mean, them my niggas, man. So, whatever happens, happens. But I definitely want to be sure that I can at least bring Khaotic culture to DreamCon. That's going to be my major goal, is to try and get there, whether it's as press or whether it is as a panelist, or if I get my own panel, where I go live from one of the lounges or whatnot. I'm gonna find out something. I'm gonna do something. The vision is clear. The vision is clear. So with that, I think it's a good time to wrap up. I was not expecting to talk for almost an hour about this. I thought this would be like a 30-minute rundown, but clearly that is not the case. So yeah, shit. Anyway, guys, thank you once again for tuning in to season 3 of the Khaotic Culture podcast show. I really appreciate you being a part of this journey with us. Please be sure that you tell your friends about this. If you're a listener, tell another person about this. And I hope that that person tells another person, and then they can tell another person. Please be sure that you share this podcast. Like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. I really appreciate you getting the word out there. We are going to build this podcast into something special, and I want you all to be a part of that. If you can help us make that happen, I would really appreciate it. So, season 4 is upon us. When season 4 rolls around, of course, we do have to do the Wayne mixtapes. I've been promising that throughout all of season 3. It will happen season 4. It'll probably be the first episode, so stay tuned for that. Please be sure that you stay tuned for the other guests that we're going to have, because, again, I'm going to include more content creators, more business professionals, and, of course, you already know they're going to be black. We got to get our black entrepreneurs on this podcast. We celebrate black culture. We celebrate black content creators. We celebrate black business professionals. We celebrate everything black. So y'all already know what time it is when it comes to that. In the meantime, I am going to take a little bit of a break, so that way we can get ready for season 4. Now, whether season 4 comes back at the end of August or it comes back at the beginning of September, we'll see. We shall see. I may do it like I did last year, where, it started in September. Which, I mean, that might be a yearly thing, where I take a little bit of a break and then we come back. So, yeah, guys. Thank you. I can't thank y'all enough for even just paying attention to me and listening to me talk. Y'all really made this something special. I appreciate all the love and support that I've gotten so far, and I hope that this podcast and this platform can continue to grow and help others grow. So, with that, we got to do the rundown one last time for season 3, and then we'll go ahead and sign off for the official end of season 3. You've already got the season 3 finale, but this is the epilogue, so of course we got to wrap up everything the way that we should do. We always got to do this right. For the podcast shout out, please be sure that you check out Mike Check Waifu, Worst Generation Pod, Blanime Podcast. I am a Patreon subscriber to those 3 anime podcasts. Also, be sure that you check out 3 Weaves in a Podcast, Dad Needs to Talk. Shout out to Rob, aka the Father Vash. He was there too, man, and we definitely got to pick together. So shout out to them. He really is a cool character, man. I definitely appreciate him and his wealth of knowledge. So definitely shout out to Rob. Analytical, where shit gets critical. Please be sure that you check them out. You can also check out Inside the Mind of a Blur. Shout out to most of y'all. The other podcast here, of course, The Session with Jay and Trey, they are back. Please be sure that you check out that podcast. Brutal Honesty with Kay Renee. Please be sure that you check her out, as well as check out her novellas under the pen name Sedona Rose. You can find her books on Amazon Kindle. Shout out to the Art podcast with Moody Senpai. Definitely shout out to her. Shout out to everybody who was doing something like the Geek Set podcast, man. Shout out to Young Deuces, man. I actually got a chance to meet him on Saturday. So shout out to him. I know he's doing some big stuff over there too. I'm trying to think if there are any other podcasts that I need to mention here, because sheesh, there's a lot more podcasts that I ended up running into and checking out, man. This is crazy. Shout out to my boy Rob J. I know that he's not promoting anything, but just shout out to him, man. That's my nigga. So let's go ahead and just do the content creators. Of course, shout out to Black Anime, HBCU Anime, and the Sundari. Shout out to Kiana, aka the Geechi Gamer. Shout out to Icarus Metro Comics, and shout out to, of course, Studio Maho. Also, shout out to Akatsuki Kells, who is a part of that. I gotta throw her in there as well. For our Twitch streamers. I'm trying to think of if there are any other Twitch streamers or anything out there that I met, because I met so many people this weekend. It was crazy. Once again, shout out to my boy LSF and Shade Red. So I'm going to go ahead and add him to that as well. Shout out to Big Shooty Robots. Shout out to Black Anime Brother and the Black Anime Podcast, man. My boy, he's got an entire list of Black Anime podcasts that you can check out that I can't name on here, obviously. So definitely shout out to him, man. My boy is really doing a lot of work. I'm definitely gonna have to check out more of his content, man, because yeah. Oh, shout out to Black Girls Anime. I finally got a chance to meet Eunice, so definitely shout out to her. Yeah, man, it is a lot of people that I ended up meeting. Like, it's just so crazy. I want to name everybody. I really can't, but yeah, definitely be sure that you check out the Black Anime Podcast directory. My boy Ash did start it, so that way you can check out these anime and manga podcasts. So he's got a whole list. Go ahead, check him out. You can follow him on Twitter at Black Anime Pods. You can also follow him directly as Ashbeard Guy. So yeah, man, my boy out here is doing amazing things. So definitely, shout out to that. We got something coming in the works as well. I have another there's another thing or collective that I'm about to be part of. So yeah, just be sure that you pay attention to that. It's coming soon. I can't talk about it just now, but you'll find out eventually. Anyway, to our black businesses. Already Paid by Dre, KSS Brand by Christina, Cream Cosmetics by Margarita, Mind Over Money by Tremaine, Studio Maho once again from my boys Pat and Allende, Concept Moon, my boy Strange Keith. Shout out to Strange Keith. How did I almost forget this nigga? Definitely shout out to my boy Strange Keith. Definitely shout out to you, man. You that nigga, bro. You that nigga. Shout out to She Designs Too by Aaron, Black Magique and Lit Wands by my girls Aaron and T, H4 Creative by Zenobia. I will add more black businesses and black content creators to our list that we have to shout out. So definitely shout out to y'all, man. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you who have listened to this recap. Be sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the Chaotic Culture Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at the Chaotic Culture Podcast page. Please be sure that you follow us on Twitter at chaotic_culture, and then you can also follow us on Instagram at Chaotic Culture Pod. Be sure that you subscribe to the Patreon account. That is patreon.com/Chaotic Culture Pod. You can subscribe on any of the 4 levels. Doesn't matter which one. Your support helps build this podcast. Please go subscribe. You can also subscribe through Anchor.fm, but I would prefer you go to that Patreon account. I'm just saying. But still, you can subscribe to Anchor.fm, and you can subscribe at any level or whatever you want to donate to this podcast. I definitely appreciate the subscribers. Shout out to, of course, my mother, who is a big supporter of this podcast, Miss Laverta Curious James. Definitely shout out to her. And definitely shout out to my brother, Dr. Nikael James, as well, for supporting this podcast. With that, you can follow me, Ked the Pro. That's K3D the Pro, aka Chaotic Ked, on all social media. You can follow my boy Law on all social media, on his Twitter at Law96_ and on his Instagram at L.JR_96. You can follow our third co-host, Miss Nasa, on all social media at _call me Nasa. I'm still looking for another co-host, guys. I need to add another one. I think I got a fourth one. It's kind of secured. It's more like a social media kind of / intern kind of thing, but I need another one, guys. I need to hear your voice. I want somebody to come on this podcast and help uplift the black community. That is our purpose here. Anyway, this has been another edition of the Chaotic Culture Podcast. This has been the Season 3 Epilogue. Until next time, folks, remember, embrace the culture. Chaos rules. Be blessed. Be safe. God is love. Deuces.
Look, it's chaos in these streets, so let's talk about it, please. Let's hold some conversation. You see where I'm
coming from. Yes, it's so amazing. Go ahead, get comfortable. You can grab a seat, take a load off your feet. Yeah, welcome to the table. We don't tell no lies over here. This ain't no fable. We just live our lives over here. We ain't no angels. We just shine our light over here. We got the power. We just showing love over here. Cause everybody needs some.